Good morning, everyone, and on behalf of the faculty and staff at International Studies, welcome to International Studies. We are so happy to be here as a board, and I certainly appreciate, I didn't anticipate such a spread for lunch and just such a warm welcome and getting to walk through the lunchroom and seeing all the kids in their pink for October Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We are super excited to be here. Just as a reminder, we're starting to do some of our the mid-month board meetings in schools, just so that we can have some feet on the ground and see actually, the students that we're impacting at every meeting, and doing it in a way though that is respectful to what's going on in the school and not intrusive. So we do appreciate the opportunity to be here. At this time, I will go ahead and call our briefing to order. Mr. Superintendent, do we have any public comments or presentations?
We do have a brief presentation by Dr. John I. Davis III, Principal at International Studies Elementary Charter School. So he will give us an overview of what they have. It's up to you, sir. Okay. I'll make sure you have it back to.
Okay.
Okay. All right, that's right.
Well, good afternoon to everybody. So we're close to about 500 kids, with about 94 of those, which we are very proud of, being ESOL students. That's English as a second language learner student. That's up almost 100% in the last 3 years. We have gone from 45 to 94. We have about 38 ESP students or SWD students that we are proud of, that does well, that performs, and about 43 gifted students. So as you can see, a wide range of learning modalities, students that we are able to reach and get to. Also, we're proud that it seems that our Marine Corps logistics-based love the services that we offer. So we have about 25 military families, where we have total about 40 students. Some, the one that's ringing a bell right now is we have a family that just moved from Japan. And to know that we could serve them, get them engaged in the English language, help their transition, and from my understanding, this first 9 weeks has been tremendous, because we stay in touch with a parent, and they're enjoying what we do and what we give. So, and then we have about 146 students that benefit from the EIP service, their service recognition. And so these are the units, and again, I'm giving you the elevated speech that every grade level go through, which allows us to present instruction through a worldview, not just the Georgia standard. So kids here learn that there are birds in Japan. They learn about different flags. They learn about different culture. On yesterday, for an example, we had a Hispanic Heritage Day, where we celebrated the Latin culture and what did they do in that South American countries. And it was just a big hoopla and a lot of fun. They got to eat and dance and do different things to learn and value different diversities. Next one, Mr. JD. And so we can celebrate. I was going to do a whole celebration slide, but I said the board already knows that we always do well with test scores. We're very proud that now we are official partners with CASE. That stands for Center for Advancement of Studies in International Education. We are official partners with them, meaning that they give us training at half rate. They're in the building. This year is our evaluation year, and they're holding our hands, and that's a big deal in the IB world, that now we have their support. Our IB coordinator is on the IB board for the state of Georgia. And most recently, I was just invited to present to that IB board. So again, those are big deals in the world of IB. We have teachers that are celebrated, APA endorsed teachers, teachers with all kind of endorsement, gifted endorsed. And I was going to spell it all out. I said, but the board is already aware of the great work that's happening. And I would wish all the teachers was in here to hear this, because I think we have one of the best staffs and the best support system in Dougherty County, and they just make it happen for us, okay? And then the next slide is which I hope you have just a few moments afterwards. I want to show you some of this. Every time I try to tell it, it's too difficult to tell. But when you can see it and experience it, it's just on another level. So to see those 94 ESOL students, some even having to speak in Spanish and move around. When you see it, you just get a different feel for what it's like. So these are just some, I'm gonna say ad hoc pictures, because these are just real-time pictures. It's not for a setup or show. But you see the student celebrations, student engagement, learning activity that you could probably see today if we were to move around the building. But I would like to pause and just brag on the charter grant. You see it says charter grant that helped us in our gardening area. That's one part I do want to showcase for you today. So we have therapy goats that are here at the school. They were vaccinated. They're all safe, right? And they can move around. They do exercise with the kids. It's just amazing to see. We got the little leash. We can move them about. We have, I call them field goats. Where's the field goats? Okay, 2 field goats. So we have a total of 4 goats. I'm sorry, I didn't acknowledge. And I'm sorry, I didn't acknowledge my partner. Sorry, just started talking. So thank you, Ms. Gay, world's best partner. Well, we got 2 field goats and right now about 7 chickens. So we got eggs and to see the students interact, that's where the beauty of it is. And right now we are piloting the curriculum from the State Department for kindergarten agriculture. So they are literally planting and doing things and going. So that's one highlight of the school. You would also see, I don't know if that picture is very clear, that picture, we were able to get approved to have space, because I think one thing Ms. Dyer always talked with us about is that whole teacher burnout report. And so we want the teachers to know we value their work. So we have a space just for the teachers to relax and just, kind of take a break and take a woosah, because, the work is, teaching reading is difficult. But then we also want them to know we value them, and we show them that by doing different things for them. So that was my elevator spiel. Oh, and I will end with this part. I think there are great schools in Dougherty County school system. I'm able to collaborate with great principals. I don't want to call names. It's so phenomenal to have such a, but I think it's 2 things you'll get at this school that you can't get anywhere else, right? But again, I'm just praising my pun, 2 things you get here you won't get anywhere else. Number 1 is nobody else can offer you the IB experience, because we're the only school with that type curriculum that got it approved that goes through those things. So nobody else can give Ms. JD, I have a slide for that if you want to. There it is. All right. And the second is, we just have a love that exists for all students that we serve. So to value them, to pour them in, to welcome you to international success. So hope you feel the love. If you don't, I'll give you some more chicken on your plate. Make sure you pay. And thank you, Mr. Dye, for this opportunity.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
I want to thank Dr. Davis and Ms. Gay for preparing that presentation. And so I want to thank you for your leadership and the impact that you have. We have a mantra that says leadership matters. And everything rises and falls on leadership. And the leadership here is impeccable. I'm proud to say we have great leaders throughout our system. And Dr. Davis, Ms. Gay, right up there with the best of them. And if you notice, he talked about the charter grant that they use for the garden. And also the social and emotional wellness room for our employees. They take that, they look at the teacher burnout report. We talk about it, and then they take action. And we talked about the burnout report with teachers. We talked about the RAND survey that talked about the amount of stress that teachers are under 3 times the generic employee. They're 2 times more likely to have depression-like symptoms because it's tough, particularly since COVID. And with the onslaught of negativity that sometimes is abound, they take that to heart and it weighs on them because they do their best every day. And so we do our best to encourage them with our DCSS moments, but they do that here too.
Yes, sir.
And so we do it at the district level, then our schools do it to make sure the teachers stay encouraged. And so we certainly appreciate your investment in the students, but also your investment in the faculty and staff, because if the faculty and staff are not well, they can't take care of the students where they need to be taken care of. So thank you for that, sir. And ma'am, we appreciate your leadership and the impact that you have on the students that we've been called to serve. Thank you.
Okay.
That's the only presentation that we have, Madam Chair.
Well, Thank you so much for doing that, Dr. Davis, and I can only imagine how hard it was to keep that brief, because I know there's a lot to celebrate, so. Okay, at this time, we'll go ahead and review our agenda items, give board members an opportunity, yes, to ask questions and make comments. We do have a few absentees this morning, but Mr. Youngblood is joining us online, and Ms. Poole will be here a little late. She got delayed. So.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, let's just jump in. Are there any questions or comments about the agenda? Okay. Item number 1, consideration of the approval of the minutes from our regular board meeting held on September 9th. Item number 2, consideration of recommendation for employment of personnel.
Yes, there is one question here.
Okay.
For transportation, you notice. Substitute bus driver, down in the union car, substitute transportation.
Uh-huh. These two?
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to bring to the attention of the board that Dunchester Johnson is my son. Okay?
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Okay, anything further on item number 2? Item number 3, consideration of recommendation for release of personnel. Item number 4, consideration of recommendation to approve the acquisition of Go-To Communications phone system.
Comments on that one, Madam Chair?
Comments?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you so much, because
Yeah.
I was gonna ask for a comment.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
right
Most of our agenda
read
items
it.
are.
I read it, but it'd be good
right.
to have you.
Yeah, most of our agenda items are thoroughly, the recommendations are thoroughly written. And, but sometimes we have things that are not,
there. Clarity.
typical and calls for an explanation. So we want to make sure I think I mentioned to the board at a previous meeting the challenges we've been having with our phone system. And that Mr. Fields, our Chief Information Officer, been doing some research. We had rolling outages with our phone systems. Some schools and offices were not able to receive calls and sometimes make calls, and that caused some frustration with our stakeholders. As we began to do research, Mr. Fields talked to our service providers and realized that the equipment that we had was going out of service, and that within the next 6 months or so, we will be going offline for service overall. And although we have a hybrid system, it's primarily they call it POTS, and it's not a complicated name. It's plain old telephone system.
Right.
That's how they use it. When I asked what POTS was, I thought it was some highly technical term. It stands for plain old phone system, telephone system. And because of that, it's not regulated by the FCC. And AT&T still services that. But since it's not regulated, they can charge various pricing for providing that service. And since it's outdated, they charge more. Our current bill is about $43,000 per month. What we're proposing is to have go-to proposal solution, and through our TIPS contract, which is a purchasing consortium which meets the requirements for comparative purchasing in the state of Georgia, to the tune of about $32,000 a month, slightly less than $32,000 a month. We're resorting to annual savings of nearly $137,000. Now this is not including the acquisition of the telephones themselves, which will cost us about Mr. Fields, did I get that? $459,000 at one-time expenditure. Now, we have general funds on the recommendation. We're going to research to see whether or not the phones can be purchased using SPLOST funds. If so, we would like to use SPLOST funds. If not, then we'll use general funds. Do you have any questions? If you do, I'll bring Mr. Fields up and discuss the details. He's a subject matter expert in this topic, but you can see the proposal that's submitted. It's 36-month lease, and it will start July 1st. Is it July 1st it'll start, Mr. Fields? The charges. February 1st, yeah. We get 5 months free as we go through the transition, and we'll replace those building, the phone systems in those buildings that have the most frequent challenges, and then we'll move through the rest of the school system. And so within that 5-month period, we should have all of our buildings up and service ongoing for about a month or so. Then once we have everything up, then they'll start charging us the monthly fee, which again is about $11,000 less than we currently pay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
may I ask the superintendent about the possibility of interruptions in communication while we transition?
Yeah, well, we plan to have very minimal interruption. We do
Okay.
we do the cutovers during times when we're not in school, evenings or on the
No,
weekends.
I mean the interruption in communication. You know,
The current one?
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
okay.
Well, what's the question? I'm
My
sorry.
question is whether or not there'll be interruptions as we transition from one to the other. No?
No,
Okay.
Ms. Fields, he can address that. I think we're gonna do it during times that we're not operating, so it won't have but I'll make sure I get it right.
What we would do, we'll work with our provider, and then we'll do some call forwarding, call porting.
Okay.
So, schools and buildings will still be able to get in contact in that process. So
That's
there
what I
would not be any
wanted.
downtime,
Thank you.
any downtime,
That's what I
and the end user will not even know what provider we're on, so all calls will not be lost.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, who's
Okay.
going?
Okay, Mr. Youngblood, go ahead.
Thank you. Just a quick question. Since they're telecommunications, are they not eligible for E-rate funding or offset?
I don't
Yeah.
believe so.
Well, we would have to do an application for E-rate, and we didn't submit an application for this. This was sprung on us unexpectedly, so we didn't do an application for E-rate. Now, we could potentially go and do for reimbursement, and we'll explore that, but right now, our intent is not to do it through E-rate.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Nancy?
My question was, will there continue to be, phones available in the classrooms?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that will still be there, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's,
Okay. All right. Moving on to item.
Who's the subject matter expert?
Thank you, Mr. Fields. Moving on to item number 5, the consideration of recommendation to approve the consent items. Some of these are for ratification. As you know, we did not meet at our originally planned meeting due to the hurricane. So, any questions or comments about those? Item number 6, consideration of recommendation to approve the following consent items, which are current. Okay. Item number 7, any financial report questions?
Just real briefly, you see, this is our submission. This is the June 30th final. We hold that 3 months because of the end of the year accounting that needs to be done before submission to the state. So we met our submission requirement, and this is the final draft. Of course, it's subject to audit, but our final report, internal report for FY24 shows that we have a fund balance of slightly less than $41 million. And we spent we had a expenditure over revenue of about $600,000, which was $1.6 million less than projected. So I want to thank again Ms. Hatcher and her amazing staff for the good stewardship and managing the resources that we've been entrusted to manage it. And of course, I want to thank the board for your leadership and stewardship and your guidance as we go through that process.
would you repeat? I was somewhere else. Would
Yes.
you repeat what you just said?
Yes, ma'am. We have a fund balance of slightly less than $41 million, $40,732,200 $93, which is pretty good, if I would say
And
so myself.
We didn't spend what was projected.
No, ma'am. We budgeted spending using $2.2 million out of reserve, primarily because of the increase in insurance costs that we've been talking about. But we were able to manage other expenditures so that the insurance expenditure did materialize, but we were able to manage other expenditures to keep those lower than projected, so that our revenue, expenditures over revenue was slightly less than 600,000. And so, and that's the benefit of having a healthy fund balance reserve. In the past, years ago, when we had revenue that didn't meet the current year expenditures, we had furloughs and things of that nature, and deep cuts that impacted our schools, because the board has been good stewards, because of Ms. Hatcher's and her team's excellent management. We have a healthy reserve that can support our operations, and so we won't feel the impact of those increased expenditures.
And now a word from our finance committee chair.
Thank you so much. First of all, I apologize. I was down at the headquarters there, and I'm sorry I'm late. But I just want to say that I've been here for a while, and some people in the audience can attest to that. Nevertheless, and as I've shared with this board on many of occasions, when I first got on this board, we were borrowing money, because I won't accuse the previous board of not being able to manage, but something happened. We were borrowing money every December, and suddenly we got Mr. Dye and Ms. Hatcher involved in the financing of this school system. And now Mr. Dye is reporting to us real numbers. These are not fake numbers like some people. They give fake news and make up stuff to try to get elected. And this is just remarkable. And I just want to commend the financial staff, the school board, and the superintendent for their stewardship, for managing people money, not trying to take advantage of the school system to make money, but to manage money. And this is just, I wish that I could tell the whole county this, but I can't. I can't talk to everybody. And I hope that our public relation people, they're doing a marvelous job. I read the article yesterday, which was remarkable. And I got a call from some of my colleagues in the ministry. They got a report that we were just dropping dead. And one called me, and I said, well, you know how some people, they disagree with you, and they spread rumors and try to kill you. And just look at all of those people that are having problems with the flood and this rain. And we got people out lying, just like we have people here in Dougherty County out lying. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Bush. Of course, he's a longtime chair of our finance committee, and yes, ma'am. And one thing he told me when I started was we don't like to raise taxes. And the only issue we hadn't raised taxes in over 2 decades, and in fact, 7 out of the last 8 years we reduced the millage rate. So and we're still able to build a reserve that's higher than the reserve we had in the past. Also, his insistence on transparency. When I first started, I think the board was presented 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper to vote on the budget. and Reverend Bush challenged me to increase transparency. So since 2012, we presented a budget document that's provides that summary, provides a narrative with a forecast, and line item by each department. And since 2012, we've been reducing that. Ms. Hatcher, I say we, Ms. Hatcher and her staff doing most of it. And so if you go back on if you go on our website, you'll see from 2024 budget, 2025 budget, all the way back to 2012. You'll see those details included on our website. So and again, that was Reverend Bush's challenge to us to increase transparency, and we were able to do that. Well, you don't have JD to put it up on the website. You don't have to do that, JD, but it's there. Well, he just did it, and so I want to thank him for that that challenge, and that's what positive accountability is about. And so I certainly appreciate that challenge, and also the other challenges that we've been faced given, and because of Ms. Hatcher's staff, we've been able to meet those challenges head on. So thank you very much for that.
Madam Chair, one more thing, Mr. Superintendent. Just for consideration, when you're crunching numbers again, since we didn't spend all that was budgeted, just please consider a little something extra for our bus drivers, substitute teachers, cafeteria staff, our police department, custodians, as well as our office staff.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
So
you.
we certainly will. As you know, we raised the minimum wage to $15 this year. Again, one of the challenges the board gave us, that no no full-time employee in the Dougherty County School System should live below the poverty line, and we met that. And then this year we took it a step further to make it $15. We're doing a compensation study, and when we get informed by that compensation study, you'll see more recommendations with salary adjustments, because you know the market has changed, and it's becoming increasingly competitive. And in order to attract and retain the best employees, we have to be competitive on our compensation packages. So we're certainly doing that. Thank you very much.
Okay, we do have an executive session today. Mr. Superintendent, you do have a report, but, Ms. Poole just texted me and she said she's on the way, and so in order for her to hear the report, would it be okay with the board if we went into executive session now while we wait on her to get here? We do have a quorum, and then she can hear the report, when she gets here. Is that, okay. So the executive session is gonna be for personnel, student matters, and safety. So at this time, I'll make a motion to go, or I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session. Thank you.
A second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes, and we'll now go into executive session. So, audience, if you would mind exiting out into the hallway, I think.
Yeah,
Perfect, okay, great. Follow Dr. Davis, that's the instruction.
And, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do we need to keep our mic
Okay.
on?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so we do keep our mics on.
Ms. Strother,
Okay,
is there any way we can leave Mr. Dyer's report at the end of after we take action? I may have to get off early, that way I can be there when we have to do
That's
the
fine.
voting.
That's fine.
yes. Yes, yes, we can do that.
It's at the end of the agenda anyway, so yeah, let's do it.
Thank you.
All right. Oh,
He was saying he wants to
he wants-
vote before.
yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, Coach Jones. Yeah, Coach. Everybody. The Dean of Principals, William Chun. I think he's a dinosaur. Not called not a dinosaur. Unicorn. Not a dinosaur. Unicorn. I apologize. You don't see principals that last 16 years in one building very often, but he has done that. Not only has he survived, he's thrived, and so we certainly appreciate you, Coach. We had a parent who wanted to come So don't leave yet, Coach. She may show up, okay? But after we do executive session, after we complete, then you can leave. He was coming to present his information regarding her concerns. So just hold tight for a second before you depart. Yes, sir. All right. All right. You got the ma'am. Yeah,
Our mics do have to be on in order for Mr. Youngblood to hear
but
us.
we're not being live streamed, so it's fine.
Yeah, so you can get them.
Madam Chair, is it okay to?
Yes,
Okay,
please.
all right. Board members, this is the addendum for our personnel. As you know, background checks get passed, other items come in after the 3-day submission, and we try to do addendum so we won't have to wait to take personnel action. Most of this is routine. We have one item that I'm asking for your consideration. That is leadership position. Cheryl Smith, you know, she stepped down as Associate Superintendent for Academic Services. Quite frankly, I think I went into detail about
You did.
live streaming.
are in for a special treat this morning, and because I'm gonna call the meeting to order and ask you all to stand for a moment of silence in the pledge, which is going to be led by some of our, international studies.
Scholars.
Yes, scholars, thank you.
We do the moment of silence first.
Okay, so we're gonna do a moment of silence and then we'll start the pledge, okay?
Please stand and join us in saying the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag in English and Spanish. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Juro fidelidad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que simboliza una nación bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos.
Thank you.
You may be seated.
Dr. Davis, can you introduce our young scholars, please?
My name is Kristen Williams and I am in fifth grade. My name is Camden Little and I am in fifth grade. My name is Octavius Anton Price Jr. and I am in fourth grade. My name is Julian Ross and I am in fifth grade. My name is Elise Taylor and I am in fifth grade.
All right, thank you very much. And I met Mr. Montavious yesterday at the football game. Yes, sir. He had some advice for me. Right. Right. I want to take him up on it. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Okay. We did delay the superintendent's presentation, so I will add that,
Miss Ellie.
kind of that, well, yes, it is there, so we'll just get at the end. Okay, are there any public comments or presentations?
No, ma'am.
No. Right, do we have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended with the addition of the personnel addendum
Madam-
as item 2C?
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I so move.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. At this time, are there any changes to the minutes for the regular board meeting held on September the 9th? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So move, pull.
All in favor? Any opposed? The motion passes. The minutes are approved. I'll entertain a motion to approve a consent agenda, items 2 through 7, with the addition of 2C. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. All right, so at this time, Mr. Superintendent, if you want to go ahead and give your report, and then we'll adjourn, yeah. Do what? Oh, and eat, yes, then we'll eat cupcakes.
Yeah. Hey, Coach, you good? Coach, you good?
Thank you, sir.
All right, Madam Chair, board members, and members of the public, superintendent's update for October 11th, 2024. First, we'll discuss our strategic plan, discuss our preliminary legislative priorities. As you know, we plan for that for the upcoming year celebrations, and then no need for the executive session because we've already had it. Our vision of the Dougherty County School System is that we're a destination school system that, in partnership with families and other community stakeholders, provides quality educational and social development experiences that empower our graduates to be successful and impactful contributors to society. Our mission is to meet the academic and non-academic needs of our students with rigorous and relevant educational experiences that equip them to succeed in life. Of course, our priority areas in our strategic plan are early literacy, academic rigor and relevance, social and emotional wellness, investment in human capital, and family and community engagement. And as we talk, first, I want to just remind you of, I'm not going to play the video. You've seen it multiple times. Many of you were at the GSBA when it was presented, but Bill Daggett, Dr. Bill Daggett, talked about the impact of COVID on student achievement. And looking at this graph shows that the 100% line was the typical, the average of the 3 years prior to COVID in terms of academic growth by students. And then the dots in between the 0 and the 100 show the academic gains after COVID as a percentage of the typical gains. And reading is 77 to 90%, and math from 59 to 69% overall average, with this academic growth being as low as 37% in math in 5th grade. And these numbers were disproportionately affected students in schools who had who were economically disadvantaged. And if you look at that, also students who learn virtually were impacted disproportionately to those that remained in person. That's just some context, the data we're looking at. Looking at our Lexile data, early literacy, and our Lexile category, we look at elementary, middle, and high school. Looking at our elementary Lexile, 2018, my first year superintendent, you'll see that our Lexile at the end of that year was 60% for overall for the district. And in 2021, the year after COVID, dropped to 37% overall, which is indicative of the research that Bill Daggett presented. Elementary schools specifically, 62% in 2019, dipped down to 37% in 2021. Then you'll see a increase in 2022 to 45, 52% in elementary school in 2023, and dipped slightly again in 2024. So, recovery is not a straight line, but if we look at the progress, we're pleased with the progress there. Middle schools, you'll see a similar trend, about 60% in 2019, dipped down to 35%, and up to 54, remain steady at 54 in 2024. And in high school, 61%, 57% dropped down to 36%, and we've steadily increased slowly back up to 50% at high school. Look at it by grade level. 3rd grade, of course, is a significant grade in terms of reading levels. You see in 2019, we had increased to 69% of our students in 3rd grade reading on grade level. Dipped down tremendously to 21% the year after COVID, 43% in 2022. 2023 was 56%. And it's a longitudinal look, and I didn't add the, I put the wrong slide, but I did add in 2024, but dipped slightly to 48%. There was some data that suggests that 4 out of 5 of our 3rd grade students are not reading on grade level. That information is not correct. But I think that may be confusing that with content mastery in ELA. And the person that doesn't know, they may think the two are the same, and they're not. We can describe the difference, but I'm sure the people around the table know that, so I won't get into that. But the Lexile level is 48%, and it was as much as 69% prior to COVID. And we were not exempt to the impact of COVID. But we have, if you look at it, we have made steady increase, and we'll continue to make steady increase because we have some of the best educators in the state of Georgia who are committed to making a difference in the lives of our students. And 4th grade, you'll see a similar trend, uptick slightly in 2024. 5th grade, again, it's high 69%, 68% in 2019, 61% and 2023 after dipping down to 44%, and dipped slightly again in 2024, relatively flat at 59%, 60% of our students on grade level there. So that's our early literacy update for those as updated in our strategic plan. Then academic rigor and relevance, we look at math proficiency. When we presented this data before, the math scores were not available because the standards changed in math, so we had to develop cut scores from the state, and I was pleased to be able to serve on that task force. And it was, I tell you what, it was a lot of work included in that. I don't know if I accept another. They asked me to serve on that. I don't know if I accept another request, but it was a lot of work, but it was meaningful work, and so I want to show our math proficiency. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It does. It does. So again, looking at longitudinally, beginning in 2015, when milestones were introduced, you'll see our math trends at third grade up to 36%, and that's proficient and above. 36% in 2019, dipped down to 16% in 2021. We're back up to 28%. So again, you see the progress between 2015 and 2019 was steady. I particularly look at between 2017 and 2019. That's without the superintendent. But since milestones began, and then a significant dip in keeping with national trends after COVID. But then you see a steady increase after that. Fourth grade math, you'll see similar, up to 34%, which is an all-time high in 2019. Just like 36% was an all-time high in 2019 for third grade, a significant dip, and then a steady increase after that. Fifth grade, you'll see with a dip in 2019 after being at 26%, but we're back up to 24%, which is within 2 points of our all-time high in terms of fifth grade trends. Sixth grade, you'll see similar progress. Seventh grade, again, the dip in 2021 as a result of disrupted learning caused by COVID, and a steady increase since then. Eighth grade, you'll see the same again, and we reached the all-time high in 2024 with our content mastery in eighth grade math. And this is a college algebra, the high school algebra. It looks a little different. We pull that data, look at different reports. And I didn't go through high school in the previous reports where I pulled this. It's a different slide, but shows similar information. And I didn't pull a slide that goes back to 2015. I will provide that to the board, but you'll see where we are. We're at 29% proficiency in algebra. Again, not pleased with overall with the raw results, but if you look at our comparison to 2023, we're at 13%. So high school actually has the largest increase in terms of proficiency. So it's easy to take a snapshot in time and present data that shows a certain picture, but it doesn't tell the whole story all the time. A longitudinal look at the improvement journey is a more comprehensive look, and I appreciate the board's understanding of that and the public's understanding of that when data is presented in such a way. 23 CCRPI. We haven't gotten our 24 CCRPI data. We had to get all the Georgia milestone scores in before the state calculates that. We should get that sometime in December. But just as a recap, the CCRPI is the state's official measure of effectiveness. It covers 4 categories in kindergarten through 8th grade and 5 categories in high school. It adds graduation rate. These are the categories: content mastery, progress, closing gaps, readiness, and graduation rates, and a quick summary of what those entail. And as I mentioned before, there's a direct correlation between content mastery and a lack of content mastery and being economically disadvantaged. But we don't use that as a crutch. We use it as motivation, because our students can certainly learn. Speaking from a student who was on free and reduced lunch his entire K through 12 career, those stats don't tell your story. And so we encourage our students to understand that. We focus on progress and looking at the gap between the state's achievement average and Dougherty County school systems. And in terms of CCRPI, content mastery and progress are weighted the same at 35%. So the progress is just as important as your content mastery. And if you're not where you need to be in terms of content mastery, you monitor your progress and your closing gaps. And that's what we have been able to do, and as we continue to do. As you know, we've done this several times. Anyone who's been to our board meetings multiple times should know that. That's just a summary of our content mastery through 2023. It's another summary of our college and career ready performance index. This is a graphical depiction of our progress by school, showing the green arrow, the green check mark shows that we surpassed the state average in content mastery, in that particular category. The gray check mark shows that that particular school surpassed the RESA average in that particular CCRPI category. And this year, last year, the state did away with the single score for CCRPI. State school superintendent looked at each of those components as like a subject on a report card, and you grade them separately without doing weighted averages and doing a combined score. The Georgia Public Policy Foundation took the 2029 formula for CCRPI and took those individual scores and calculated what the single score would have been. And this is also the formula that the Governor's Office of Student Achievement will be using to determine the effectiveness scores, the single score that's required through state legislation that was approved last year in the last legislative session. You'll see that although the state showed declines in elementary, middle, and high of 5%, 8%, and 6.8% respectively, the Dougherty County school system, when you look at the 2019 CCRPI, the 2023 CCRPI, of course, they didn't calculate CCRPI in 2021 and 22 because they couldn't measure growth, because that data from 2021 was not really valid or reliable. You see a 13.6% increase, 13.4% increase in the official effectiveness measure for elementary schools, a 10.2% increase in the state's official effectiveness measure, and a decline in high school by 5.4%. We have some work to do there. As you look at the boards, the way we measure, again, when you're below the state average, you look at where you are and you try to close that gap. When you look at our RESA, the Dougherty County school system is fifth in terms of elementary schools, in terms of effectiveness measure, surpassing the RESA average by nearly by over 4 percentage points, and in below the state average by 2 percentage points. Look at our middle schools. The Dougherty County school system surpasses the RESA average and the state average as of 2023. Again, 2024 CCRPI data is not available, and you see where our ranking is in the RESA. But also, again, looking at overall effectiveness, surpassing the state average and the RESA average. High schools, again, work to do there. 63.4% effectiveness measure at our high schools. Legislative priorities, and the questions about that achievement data. Again, with our two priority areas that we focused on for this meeting, early literacy and then academic rigor and relevance. Yes, ma'am.
I do have a question on concern.
Mm.
Are we gonna do summer school this year?
Yeah, as needed. Yes, ma'am.
As needed? What about Saturdays?
Those are up to we did it up to the schools. They use their title funds for that, and so when they see a need, they do provide targeted support and remediation during Saturday school.
I was just sitting here pondering how we could, or how the schools could do something of a math academy.
Mm.
Maybe teachers from across the district who really enjoy teaching math and are good at it. If we could pull them together to work with some scholars who are a little deficient in some areas, because as you know, grades 1, 3, and 5 are new materials being introduced. And so if we could prepare those upcoming first graders, and upcoming
Yes, ma'am.
rising first
Yes, ma'am.
grade and fifth graders.
Yeah, as we discussed previously, if we'll go back a couple of slides with the data that Bill Jack presented. If you look at the decline in student achievement, the achievement is lower as you go in upper grades, because with math, if you don't acquire those foundational skills in the early grades, you are less likely to master the skills because you have to build upon those skills. So we are accelerating learning in those lower grades. And so if you look at our math data, you'll see that they didn't recover as quickly as our ELA grades, our reading, literacy grades, literacy proficiency rather, in our lower grades. In 8th grade, however, after they had already acquired a lot of those skills, we showed some tremendous gain. So it's going to take some time to build those, to reinforce those critical foundational skills. And we are doing that, and we'll be glad to give you some details on that with our math coordinators if you want to get update on that. But we will continue to do that in a targeted manner, and using additional math resources that we're bringing to the table this year. Thank you for that. Yes, sir. Which one? We have 3 of them. Yes, sir. Yeah, this is 2023, the most recent CCRPI data available. The 2024 CCRPI data will be produced by the state sometime in December. Any more questions about those? If not, we'll move to our legislative priorities again. I'm sorry.
I think it needs to be pointed out as well. You know, our teachers and students, they have to deal with what is sent to them. They don't have the of selecting people, you know, and of course I'm opposed to selected people. They can't, in essence, they can't pick who comes to school, you know, and Miller County, where I'm from, you know, I had no choice, I had to go to Bethel. I had no choice. But my great niece and nephew, they have a choice, they can go to the same school, you know, and then, you know, you have the private school down there that take in fat cats children. And Masters, SBA, I believe it is, and Deerfield here, and other parochial schools. And I just want to bring that point out.
Yes, well.
We have to deal with what we get.
And we our students some of our students come from economically disadvantaged households, but again, we don't use that as an excuse. We use that as a motivation to help them lift themselves out of that situation. And not only do we work with the students, as you know from our other presentations throughout the school year, we take a holistic approach. Some things we take for granted, like health care, dental care, vision, they don't get that. And so we provide that in the schools. And despite what some people may think about diverting our resources to that, all those resources are grant funded. We identified the needs. We had a team to research grant opportunities, and we brought in over $35 million in grant funds to support that work. So no QBE dollars are being spent to support that work, and so I'm very proud of that. Also, yes, sir.
I owe Mr. Brown, let me point out, for somebody who I tell someone who is opposed to this, I think that people, if they want to send their child to Timberland Tree,
They have the right.
they have a right.
Yes, sir.
But I do believe, honestly, that my heart was at Monroe. That's where my children were.
Mm-hmm.
That's where my heart was. And I believe their heart was where their children were too.
Right, right.
I really do.
And so, again, we did, and then not only do we work with the students, the Level Up program that the $3 million grant we received from Georgia Power, that is being renewed for this year. Yes, ma'am. We provided job skills training in high demand career fields, primarily in healthcare with CNA and in construction. Over 100, what's the number, Mr. Davis? 140 something, 160 something now, have received their credentials, and many have gone on to get jobs. And so we do believe that when we increase household income, provide them opportunity to get jobs with benefits and that pay a living wage, it could create a more stable home environment to allow the challenges and barriers that our students come to school with can be minimized. And so we're taking a holistic approach to that, and it doesn't happen overnight, but the progress we've made is obvious and it's steady, and we are going to continue to move forward in that direction. I think that's the best way to impact our community.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
Superintendent, do we can still educate homeless children?
Yes. Yes, ma'am, we do.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yep. And in fact, just the board just approved the acquisition of 2 vehicles, because a lot of our homeless students, they don't have transportation, so they minimize their ability to participate in extracurricular activities and things of that nature, or stay after school for certain things. So we acquired those vehicles to help support those families. Again, those students should not have have fewer experiences because of their economic conditions at home. So we try to do what we can to bridge that gap and provide those services that are needed. Again, many of us we take those for granted, and they can't.
Yes, ma'am.
When this is personal, when Mr. Bridge was stating the fact that we deal with children who come to us as they are, Mr. Dowdy got a chance to experience firsthand what you,
I won't call his name. I'm about to call his name. Okay, right.
but, yeah, he knows all too well about my favorite
Yes,
student.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Saw it firsthand.
Yes, ma'am. Yep. Any more questions regarding that part of the report? If not, we'll move swiftly to the legislative priorities. Again, as it has been since 2018, we're proposing that expansion of pre-K would be our priority in our legislative. Yes, and we've been successful in creating almost 150 additional slots, pre-K slots, since I became superintendent, and we think that's going to have a tremendous impact on those students' readiness for kindergarten and then beyond. And we know the getting our students to a more a formal educational setting earlier will help build those foundational skills we talked about before and position them for success moving forward. We have more pre-K students than we've ever had, and we have room for more. We have room for 160 more. We have 200 more. We have 10 classrooms that we can move into over the next several years. And so although we did increase the number of pre-K students that we could house this year, we still had a waiting list, and we referred those families to other centers. But we'll continue to advocate for expansion of our pre-K services, and maybe in another 4 years, we'll be looking for another building to put pre-K students in.
Sharing with us and the ordinance that we have. You mentioned in the report that children come to us and don't know how to
Hold
hold
the pencil.
a pencil,
Yes, ma'am.
don't know how to open a book,
Yeah.
correctly or hold it
Right,
correctly.
right.
Some grown folks have been holding books upside down. That remains in my head and heart. That they don't know how to hold or use a pencil. And that's very, very,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Again, taking a holistic approach, starting earlier and building that foundation of learning. And then, of course, our QBE. Georgia is one of only 6 states that does not have a formula to address poverty in education funding. And so one of the things Georgia is one of only 6 states that does not have a formula to address poverty in its education formula. The other 6 states, I don't have them committed to memory, but I can find that to you. Yes, sir. So we're going to be advocating for Georgia to add a way for economically disadvantaged students, because the wraparound support services that we mentioned, that we don't take funding for QBE, we write grants for, but research shows and evidence shows that students who are economically disadvantaged, they need more wraparound supports, and that costs money. And so we've been able to successfully compete for grants to do so, but we have to continuously do that every year, and we will continue to do that every year. But if we had it in our QBE formula, it could be money that we can count on continuously. So then the grants that we get could be used to supplement those funds versus being the sole source of support. funding support. So we're gonna push that. We have been in conversations with several legislators who believe that this could happen as well. And of course, I'm gonna have conversations with the executive office during our roundtable discussions that we have as part of Governor Kemp's superintendent's advisory team, one of 12 superintendents across the state who get an opportunity to bring these issues to his attention. State health benefits plan, as we mentioned before, we're going to ask that they phase the increases in slower. Again, because of the financial stewardship that this board has led and Ms. Hatcher's staff has managed, we're in a very good position to weather that storm of increased costs. Some school systems are not as fortunate, and I was talking to some superintendents who, quite frankly, don't know how they're going to continue to operate with the increased costs. So we're going to advocate for slowing the increase and asking that the state can take a bigger role in supporting those costs. Some may remember during the times of fiscal austerity with the state that the state took some money from the state health benefits plan reserve to help take care of other expenditures with the general fund budget. And to my knowledge, those funds have not been replaced. So we're going to ask that they replace those funds so they shore up the state health benefit plan fund and maybe reduce the added burden on school systems, particularly those who are not as fortunate as we are to have a reserve that can help us get through that. The next thing, the retirees return to work, as I've reported on several times during the meeting, House Bill 385, it sunsets at the end of the school year. So with the teacher shortage, as you can remember, I'm sure, 10-year history of individuals graduated with bachelor's degrees in education in the university system of Georgia has been reduced by 1,100. We have 1,190 fewer teacher ed graduates with bachelor's degrees, 36.9% if I recall correctly. So we're doing several things with our teacher apprenticeship program, as Allison and her team leading that effort. Other things, one is the retirees return to work. Those retirees who would like to return to work can come to work and provide support full time. This does allow them to do that. It restricts it to the three highest needs areas by RESA. Our RESA is math, science, and those areas are math, science, and social studies. No, not social studies, special education. But I do believe, I do believe, yeah, I know, yes, ma'am, I know, but I do believe that, I do, yes, ma'am, I agree 100%. That's why we're going to advocate, as you see, increase the covered content areas. Yes, ma'am. First one being social studies. There we go. and then eliminate the 1 year waiting period because over the last several years that has been in effect, we've had about 500 retirees statewide, duplicated head count, not unduplicated head count. Duplicated head count, when you look at the number that came back in the last 2 fiscal years, a total of about 500 duplicated head count. And so it's not a lot of people taking advantage of it. Part of it because of the restrictions that are in place. So we're going to ask that they eliminate that waiting period, and if they need to have 3 areas, I was advocating for 3 areas: elementary, middle, and high. and that didn't go over so well when I presented, but I'm going to present it again because my thing is this: and particularly in some rural districts that don't have a lot of people there, and they can't attract people there. People who retired and still live there. If you need a social studies teacher, that's just as critical in your school as a school that needs a science teacher. And so I think all the areas are critical, and we're going to continue to advocate for those things. And then workforce housing, as we mentioned earlier, there was some having conversations with potential teachers who are graduating from our area schools. A lot of them are going back home because they can't afford housing. And I mentioned at a previous board meeting that we're going to work on a housing solution. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but I'm going to put myself on the spot by committing to doing something. So we have begun. Yes, ma'am. I would appreciate that. But we have some ideas as well. We're going to unveil a little later after we get those plans a little more solidified. But looking at partnering with other local governments to create housing community for educators and maybe first responders that provide for affordable housing options over a 3 to 4 year period with a service requirement at the end. And so that's what we're looking at. We plan to unveil that within the next couple of weeks, probably at our next board meeting. Oh, went off. Okay, all right. How'd I do that, JD?
That go to man right there.
Okay, all right. Well, let me see.
There you go.
Okay, it's back. All right, all right.
Stand up.
Okay, that's it. Terrence did it.
He
Reverend
just
Bush
needs to
has
stand up.
Okay, all right.
Reverend Bush.
Certifying all of these individuals, that really intrigues me. I have always, I used to, when I was working on the congressional staff with Congressman Hatcher, I used to go to Tift County and Lowndes County, Albany, and Crisp County especially, and I enjoyed the exchange with the students. And Mr. Dye, I've been thinking about it so seriously. I would like to be certified, know how, Ms. Addison, how I can get certified to teach in political science. That's what I have a degree. And I really want to do that before I leave this world.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Addison, do you hear that?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate y'all. Let me sit on this side.
All right. Celebrations. Any more questions about any feedback on the legislative priorities? If not, we go to celebrations. JD? Well, we have a student from Monroe who's serving on the state superintendent's student advisory council, Mr. Tabari Mathis. He'll be representing Monroe High School, sir.
We just gonna say he represent Dougherty County.
Right, but he'll be representing all of Dougherty County in southwest Georgia. And so, yes, sir, I understand. The last two representatives we had one from Westover and one from Dougherty. And so, and then we have one from Monroe. Yes, sir.
That's what
All
I said,
right.
we represent Dougherty County School System.
All right. Next, JD, the graduation rate again. We mentioned that. I could have put this in the rigor and relevance report, but it's a celebration. We reached a 90% graduation rate for the first time in the history of the Dougherty County school system. The fourth year in a row, and the seventh year out of 8 years that we've outperformed the state in terms of graduation rate. And just so you know, that it's not just about graduation rate, JD. Westover is 95.7%, Dougherty is 88.1%, and Monroe was 88%. But not only is it our graduation rate, we had 124 students who earned an associate's degree or the technical certificate, higher education credentials. We had 132 that earned industry-recognized credentials, like the CNA, or 132 that earned industry-recognized credentials, like the CNA or the Six Sigma, Lean Six Sigma credentials. And we had 136 that were recognized as honor graduates. Some of the students I put up with the best in the state of Georgia. So congratulations to our students first and their families, as well as our educational leaders and teachers who have prepared them for life after high school, whether they choose to go to a 4-year school, 2-year school, offer themselves for service into the military, or go directly to the workforce with those credentials that prepare them for that. JD? It also is National School Lunch Week. Next week, we'll be on our fall break. So we celebrated National School Lunch Week this week. So we thank to all of our cafeteria employees, staff members who come to work probably earlier than anybody, getting breakfast ready for our students. And, that's very important. So we want to thank them for that. It's also Pre-K week this week, and we celebrated that. Dr. Solomon and her team had various activities at both our Magnolia and and Morningside locations to celebrate Pre-K week, bringing parents in and other folks in to celebrate our students to showcase what they have learned. This is also National Bullying Awareness Month, and yesterday we celebrated Unity Day with a Unity chain that helps focus on kindness, inclusivity, and acceptance. Those are the themes that we lifted up during Unity Day yesterday, and we not just on those days, but on that day, but also throughout our school system, we focus on that, anti-bullying and the kindness, inclusivity, and acceptance of all of our students and staff. Today, this month is also National Principals Month, and we're going to celebrate our leaders. Again, everything rises and falls on leadership, and leadership does, in fact, matter. We have some of the best principals in the state of Georgia, in my opinion, and we celebrate them this month and show our appreciation for them always. And finally, for the third year in a row, congratulations to this board. I know you didn't know this was a surprise, that the Dougherty County Board of Education has reached exemplary status through the Georgia School Boards Association. That's a testament to your commitment, not only to our students, but to employees and to good governance. And every good relationship, I tell you, every good relationship has to be built on a foundation of trust. And that trust has to be earned every day. And I try my best to earn that trust from you every day, and I know you do as well. I appreciate, as I said before, the support, but I also appreciate when you challenge me to do things that we may not have thought to do, and that sense of positive accountability is appreciated, and as you can see by the data that we presented earlier, is showing the results, and I don't take it for granted that this board is an exemplary board. That's not the case all the time, and in all areas. I've heard horror stories about dysfunctional boards, and with the board not being on the same page and not exhibiting those characteristics of exemplary board governance, students have no chance of thriving. So, excuse me if we get a little emotional, because it's I've seen it happen the other way, and I don't take it for granted, sir.
Well, then, yes.
Yeah, but
We made it through.
Secret meeting with news people spreading disinformation like Trump. It's just terrible.
again, I'm not speaking anything specific, just talking to some of my superintendent colleagues.
And I've overheard them talking with you at conferences as I was passing by.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to.
Am I not right?
Yeah, y'all.
I stay. I don't pass by. I stay.
See, she's telling on herself. I'm passing by.
Just protecting our.
They're asking advice, you know.
Yeah, she tells me, come on,
Yeah, I know.
superintendent, don't you?
Just protecting our
but
investment.
and I appreciate that. I do, and I don't take that for granted.
We cover him, don't we?
I've heard stories of
Yeah.
places throughout the state where the superintendent and board are not on the same page. Board members are not on the same page, and it's hard to see the success that we've seen in terms of our progress when that's the case. So I don't take that for granted.
But serious superintendent,
yes, ma'am.
I think it's commendable that you share. That's what I hear you doing with individuals that have stopped you at state and regional and national conferences. They ask for your help, and you have freely given, and I'm grateful for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Because as you pass it on to others, you assist them in growing, and you will continue to grow, and I commend you for that. Thank you.
It's my philosophy that we serve the same kids.
Yes.
They just
That's
live in
right.
different zip codes.
Yes.
And if we can do anything to help, we certainly will, and we certainly look for help in other
Not
places.
a competition.
Right, that's right.
Yeah,
And,
it's so true.
and this board, again, Madam Chair, during the presentation at GSBA with the wraparound support services that we
Yes,
provide.
yes.
And I had the pleasure of, speaking of summer programs,
Yeah.
Cheryl Smith and I had had an opportunity to present at the National Conference on Education about our summer program, our summer learning program, and received several questions and provided some guidance on how they can implement a program that shows the results that we showed in terms of recovering from COVID learning loss. So to your point, we're not in competition.
Yeah.
We want to help everyone that we
Yeah,
can.
exactly.
And without this board's support, we wouldn't be able to do it. So thank you for that. Again, I don't take that for granted, and I don't take that lightly. So thank you with all sincerity.
Sure.
And you deserve every bit of that
Sure.
applause that you got regarding this status. 3 years in a row, a trifecta, but we're not stopping there. I'm sure you're going to continue to strive for that as and to demonstrate to our students what commitment and can lead to. So thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have for my report. Are there any questions?
Madam Chair, not a question, but Dr. Finney is unable to attend, and he requested at our last meeting that Chief Conley address the board regarding safety protocols for the district.
Yes, ma'am. That's the plan for the next board meeting.
Okay,
in
thank
the
you.
31st of October.
Oh, good.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I just want to mention it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ms. Huntley brought up, in a previous board meeting about, sharing the successes of our district, using a billboard. Remember you asked her to do that? But I wanted to take that a step further. What's the possibility of having a marquee in front of our school board somewhere, whether it's on the building or attached to that sign? And I know we probably don't get enough traffic, but at least during the week, those persons who work downtown will have the opportunity to read about what it is our school district is doing. Now, I know it's on the webpage, but not everybody goes there, so it's just a thought.
Yes, ma'am. And as she always does, Ms. Sanders is writing that down, and when we get back, we're gonna debrief, and she's gonna give me my marching orders. So we'll follow up, and I want to pass it on to JDE and his, and we'll figure out a strategy to implement. If not, that's something similar. The marquee.
Along with the billboard.
Yes, ma'am. Along with the billboards, those are underway. The marquee will call for a sign, and we have a sign ordinance in the city, so I don't know whether or not we would, so we have to do some research on that one, but we'll figure something out. Yes, ma'am.
But either or.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay, all right, all right. And-
Just don't want to get on my soapbox. I'm tardy, not late, tardy because we were doing Paint the School Pink. And just wanted to share, I certainly appreciate, I do go to schools when I'm asked to go to schools. But just an opportunity, we're in the library, so ironically, we were at Northside, and she shared with us about the funding that she received from the charter school. That they're taking the kids from Dewey Decimal System to an area that they can see what the things that they like. So they can just walk in the library and see if they like cars, they can go straight to it. So just watching those ideas, PBIS, you know, Sherwood had to show us their PBIS funding that they're receiving.
Right.
So now, getting the opportunity, and I'm saying this to all our board members, getting the opportunity to see what we do here and see it to life, it was just, thank you. We appreciate that. So if you get a chance, go out to the schools. I have 3 more schools I'm gonna visit today. But just watching our work, and of course, everybody said, Ms. Teese, and I told her when she gets before the podium, she can tell you guys how much money the other schools need. I told her, don't tell her. But I just want to just say to your staff, thank you for the work that they're doing when you see the kids actually in the library and how many books they're actually reading, taking home. So thank you, sir.
And that was an
and your
intentional
staff.
approach. Getting kids engaged is important. Give them books to read on topics that they're interested in, encourages them to read,
Yeah.
and makes them want to read more. So not just a book, but a book on a topic that you are interested
to
in. Yeah, and so that's very intentional on that north side.
And we did see the dinosaur, the
right,
little
right.
dinosaur
Right.
with his skirt on.
Right. So thank you for that. And of course, we recognize Miss Simmons at the last board meeting about being at the distinguished level
That's
for
right.
PBIS implementation. And so you saw it in action.
Yes,
And
yes.
it sure was. Yes, ma'am. Thank you
So
very much
thank
for that.
you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to close, to adjourn.
So move, Poole.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we are now
I
adjourned.
was gonna take. a
We're
picture.
gonna get a quick picture in our paint.